Okay, well, we are here today with Chris Ann Dale, and I am your semi-host. I think Chris Ann and I are going to jointly host this today. I'm Steve Grubbs, the founder and CEO of VictoryStore.com, among other companies. And Victory Store is a company that is working to provide yard decoration businesses with supplies and more than just supplies, the knowledge and information that they need to succeed. And Chris Ann, who is not a recent veteran, but a long-term veteran in this space, has a lot of information, and she has a very interesting organization that she has started recently that we want to learn more about. And so, Chris Ann, great to talk with you.
Hi there, Steve. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to get to do this with you. And I don't want to keep everybody and bore everybody with my background, but really quick, I've been doing this for over 2 decades. And this is before we had social media. And we used to do yellow pages advertising. We used to literally leave flyers at people's doors. It was traditional advertising. And so a lot has changed. And what I have learned is there's always a lot to learn. And I'm always a student.
So how much time do you have today so I can sort of make sure I use our time wisely?
We have scheduled an hour, but we don't need to go that long, whatever we get to fit in.
Okay. So I want to cover a handful of things that will help people the most. First of all, and this is the list of topics that I think we should think about, and you can tell me if you want more. First, how do you grow your business? How do you bring in more customers in the door? It's a problem to have more customers than you have time or inventory to put out. But as I always say, there are good problems and there are bad problems. And that's one of the good problems, is having too much work. Second, a lot of people are trying to figure out, you can't go to college, you can't go to the University of Texas and get a degree in yard decoration. Maybe you can get a business degree, but you can't get a yard decoration degree. So a lot of people are wondering where they go to find various resources, whether it's legal resources or marketing resources, whatever the case might be. So we want to talk about that. And then third, I think we should discuss various strategies for creating packages that are attractive in the marketplace. So let's start. Do those three sound good to you? And is there anything else?
Perfect. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So let's start with growing a business. You started before social media, which I think is actually a really interesting place to start, because it's easy to rely too much on social media and forget that there are other tools out there. So, and the other thing that I think is important for newbies to know is that sometimes you just have to stick it out and grow that customer list. And somebody might see your information and not reach out for 6 months or 9 months because they just don't have an event. So would you talk to us a little bit about building a business with tools that are not social media, and what that looks like to build a small base, build on that base, and maintain the relationship among those folks?
Absolutely. I call this grassroots. It's old school marketing 101. And it all starts with getting your name out there, getting your signs out there. It doesn't matter that they're paid or not paid. You've got to get your signs out there and do it strategically. So you're going to be doing, really, the first thing you can do is you get your signs. And besides the business side of, the legal and all that you need to work on, but the actual growing your customer base, get your signs out there and get in front of people strategically. And that's high traffic areas, super popular people in your community. Schools are a place. However, that's more of a long-term marathon that you're running by getting in front of schools. You want to get this out there and talk to your friends. If there's somebody having a birthday or a new baby or whatever occasion, that's your new free gift. You're going to go out there and you're going to do that, and you're going to take pictures. And nowadays, you're going to get selfies. You're going to get them to give you a customer testimonial, and just use that and nurture them. And I'm probably jumping the gun, but this is when social media comes into play. Facebook Live is king. Facebook rewards every single business who will get out there and be on live streams, just like what we're doing here. I do not enjoy being in front of the camera. And I'm sorry, Mike. Can you tell this is working real, right? With the dog in the background. I do not like being in front of the camera. I like being behind the camera. But we have to get ourselves out there. Go out there with your iPhone. The technology's changed so much. Do a Facebook Live. You don't even have to be in front of the camera. Do this with your customers. If these are your friends, guess what? You can tell them what you're going to do. And by building that, you're going to get out there and there's going to start being some chatter. And besides, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but social media is a part of it. The other part is once you get one customer and then you get a second customer and a third customer, you're building this one customer at a time. And I refer to them more as clients, because a customer is more of a transaction. A client is about building a relationship. And with that, I want to build relationships, because customer relationships are what give your business life. Now, when things are busy and we're in the middle of, April and May and June, when we're working on 3 hours of sleep, it doesn't seem like it's the time that you're going to be worrying about business 6 months from now. However, it's the perfect time, especially now, if you're not super busy, to really work on those customer relationships, and you want to keep in front of them. And I highly recommend getting in touch with them on a regular basis. We've got Christmas basically here at our fingertips. One of my best advice for any business is to reach out and communicate with every one of your customers. This day and age, we have technology where you can send an email to every customer. What I've done, and what has a huge effect, is to pick some of your best customers and go hand deliver a Christmas card or even a tiny gift to them. When you're building those relationships like that, they will be your raving fans. And that's really one of the best ways. I've got customers that go back 16, 17 years.
Wow.
17 years. And in a number of them, 5, 10, 20, not 20, 5, 10, 15 years, because I've built those relationships and I don't just, leave them over there in the corner. And I think it's something to be said now that there's so much competition out in the country. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have competition. I'm just saying we all need to figure out what our business is going to be like in our own signature style. And everybody should be working on building better customer relationships.
Let me put some data to. So you talked early on in your answer about finding busy streets, and this is one of the things that I teach, because what people fail to realize is that I can spend a fair amount of money on, let's say, a local television ad campaign. Maybe I want to be on the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news, and in most markets, that ad is going to cost between $2,500 and $25,000. That's a lot of money, more than most of our businesses have. But let's say instead that you do sort of a Burma shave. Now, if you're young, you might not know what that means, but a message on a busy street in your community. In the United States, most busy streets that are 4-lane and are among the busiest in your community are going to have between 15,000 and 30,000 drive-bys a day. And if you have something eye-catching on the side of the road, 100% of them are looking at that. Now, let's stop and do the math. Let's use the number 25,000. So let's say you've got 25,000 drive-bys a day. That means that in 10 days, you'll have 250,000 views. That's suddenly better than a TV commercial. And so now, with spending almost no money, just finding a location where someone will allow you to set up for 10 days, you have reached 250,000 consumers, and you've dramatically impacted the marketplace. So this is something that's easy to do. It takes a little thought, but it's something to put in your what we call guerrilla marketing. And I want to stay on the guerrilla marketing before we move to social media here. So Chris Ann, talk to me about word of mouth strategies. I don't know if you've ever really thought concretely about word of mouth, but it's a big deal. And this drive-by is a piece of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And word of mouth is huge. And that goes both ways, because when somebody doesn't like you, this day and age, they're especially going to jump on social media. And I know we're not going to go down the social media path right now, but word of mouth will be also the breadth of your community. And I'm so sorry, my dog is crazy. With that, I mean, that's part of building up your reputation and your integrity. If you say you're going to be there at such and such time, or you're bringing X, Y, Z signs, building up that integrity, people are going to recognize that. If you go, I always say, under promise and over deliver. What that creates is a wow factor. And then people remember that. And they're like, wow. So guess what? They're going to turn. And now so many people know about the yard card business that people are looking for them. And they're going to tell their friends. They're going to see people. Social media does come into play at that point where it's like, oh, hey, I'm looking for such and such. Word of mouth, that's when people are like, oh, hey, you need to use such and such business because they really did a great job for me. And it's not free advertising, but it is free advertising. On the long term, you've got to take care of your customers, even if you're referring them to somebody else, because they remember, wow, they didn't just try to sell me something I don't want.
Yeah,
and I think that's really important, that I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't have X, Y, Z, but my friend Margaret does. Let me send you, here's her contact information, call her and she'll take really good care of you.
Let's talk about influencers, because influencers are really the transition between old-fashioned word of mouth and modern day social media. And we didn't really call them influencers back in the day, but
they were authorities.
Right. It's a great term. And you know that in your community, there are certain people that are influencers. So for example, it might be the popular morning talk show host at the radio station on a busy street. And so if you contact them, they will likely let you set up a happy birthday yard card presentation. And almost certainly the DJ is going to talk about it. If it's there when they arrive in the morning, and they arrive pretty early. But they're a significant influencer. Or the same with the television news host, or perhaps if your mayor is well liked, or perhaps the principal. One of the other places that we sell a lot of products is in what we call player cutouts. So
yes,
our entire market started because the PTA at a local high school asked us to do a cutout and donate it for the principal.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. They gave us a picture of the principal, and we did a cutout, and he stood there. And then the next thing we knew, they said, hey, can you do these for each player on the football team? We did, and now we sell them to hundreds of high schools across the United States. So you can do, finding those, a pastor of a large church, a key business leader, a philanthropy. There's so many influencers out there.
There are.
But in doing all of this, you have to set some metrics for yourself. So for example, your metric might be to do 2 influencer setups per month, 20 more per year. And then discipline yourself to meet those goals. So what are your thoughts about influencers, Chris?
I think it's huge. I think it's really huge. And it can be, we've got very affluent, some of our neighborhoods are very affluent, and there will always be that person who is more of an influence in that neighborhood than others. And first I have to know what my target neighborhoods are, who my target market is. And from there, it's like, okay, well, who do we have that lives in that neighborhood? We happen to have one neighborhood that's got, astronauts that live in it. And so with that, we're like, they're great influencers. And so when they're coming down from the space station, or they're about to launch, we want to do a Godspeed or a welcome home. in front of the neighborhood, because not only are they obviously huge influencers, it's also goodwill. But we wouldn't want to go do those every day, because it goes back to the metrics. You want to really make sure that you're, keeping those boundaries set, or that's all you could do is philanthropy every day.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So let's talk about paid social media next. First of all, before we do that, let's talk about unpaid social media. What social media platforms do you currently use?
I have Facebook and Instagram, and there's a difference between being on them and strategically using them. And that's something that I see a lot of people, just because somebody goes and signs up for a business Facebook page doesn't mean they're using it strategically. It means they have one. And, I haven't looked at the numbers in the last 3 months, but from an organic reach standpoint, whenever you post something, and this is on a Facebook page, not in a group and not a personal page, there's a 4% reach. So, do the numbers on that. And, that's a challenge. That's why you want to create raving fans, but they've got to know you're there. And it's so important, though, to be consistent. And it goes back to Facebook Live being king. Facebook is going to reward you because they're looking for that interaction. And so that gets a little bit of a higher percentage of reach than doing, just basically a post. And the other thing that I see, and I'm guilty of all of this, is just posting photos of our wonderful signs. And it's really fun to see, but people are looking for more. And that's where you want to give back to them. And it can be something as fun as, hey, you know what, here's a recipe for Thanksgiving, for, a fun little activity you can do with your kids that builds, a little turkey out of a marshmallow, and something that helps them. It's not just about buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. And so that's the unpaid part of it. And, Instagram, you've got to see where your audience is hanging out. My audience has historically only been on Facebook. In the last 3 to 4 years, they're now coming also over to Instagram. And so if you don't know where your audience is, ask them.
So how much do you use your personal page, and how much do you use your business page for your free posts?
Well, okay, so I post every day, and it's one of those, it sounds really monotonous, but that's why we schedule posts. Now, the new thing is Facebook and Instagram stories, and that's something that I have not perfected yet for doing every day. But from a personal page standpoint, I do not promote my business all the time on there, because if people like me, if they know what I'm doing, they're already over on my business page. I do trickle in business to my personal page, but I don't use it as a big form of marketing. But I've been doing this for so long that if I were to talk to them every day about it, hey, look what I'm doing today, I think a lot of people would probably hate me. But when I'm coming to do a promotion, or I'm looking for, hey, I know who the influencers are from my friends, I reach out to them privately. Or if I'm going to do a promotion, I do turn to my personal page first and go, okay, who is in such and such area, who has a 16th birthday, or I strategically marketed. If it's new babies, I have a new baby theme. Who do I know that has that? And then if my friend doesn't know, they know somebody.
So you're not using Pinterest right now?
Oh, I have been on Pinterest for a long, long, long time.
Okay.
And this is where people are missing the mark. And I don't know how long Pinterest has been around. I think it's been more than 5 years. I still get people that pin my signs, my photos of my signs, and they still get in touch with me and ask how to buy my signs. And I know we're in the rental industry, but it just goes to show you how long something can live, and especially on Pinterest.
What about Twitter?
You know what? I used to have Twitter. My audience isn't there. And that's all about asking my audience is, where are you? If I was doing something that was probably more, health industry oriented or government oriented, that might be a little bit of a better platform for me. But because my people are, it's primarily women, and they're out looking to help with their kids' birthdays and the typical what we do. And that market is on Facebook and Instagram. And the Pinterest thing has been really interesting because I've been putting that out there for years and years. But it's not targeting, and I'm not getting it from my local market. It's basically from around the world where I get people that are seeing me on Pinterest.
How about Snapchat?
Snapchat. Well, it depends. I have a handful of friends that are on it because their kids are on it. And so I think, again, it goes back to what your clientele is doing. TikTok is I say an up and coming one. It's the second most downloaded app that there is, period. Now you can go through all the issues as far as security goes. You can make that decision on your own. But from a business standpoint, it is up and coming. And a lot of businesses, where it was 2 years ago, there was no way that was the right avenue for a business to be on. But guess what? That's now changed too. So guess what? We need to learn more about it.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right about that. And that's something that we're exploring as well, and probably behind the eight ball on it. Let's talk about what you charge. You're in the Houston market.
Correct.
What's the price packages that you have?
Well, I used to service an hour and a half away. And so I serviced, I don't even know how many zip codes. And I do it all by time because we have lots of traffic in Houston. So if I told you it was 10 miles, if that took me 40 minutes, that would be terrible. So I charge from $100 up to $200. And if I'm traveling far, that would be up to the $200 range. If it's going to take me, 3 hours in traffic both ways, I'm going to charge more. But now that we have so many businesses, I don't have to travel as far, because I would get stuck in the trap of, my grandmother's turning 90 and there's nobody else to help. And so here I am wanting to go help. So I would go drive, an hour and a half away to go help. Right. So now I focus on my immediate area, and I start at $100, and I'm a little bit different. I usually leave it for 2 nights. And so
$100, 2 nights.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's just the starting, because I'm a firm believer in upselling. Yeah.
So what do people get for $100? If I just say, look, all I can afford is $100, what am I getting?
Well, my most popular are flamingos. And so if somebody's turning 40, I'll come and I'll do a theme sign. And we didn't used to call anything flashes. This is a new term that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. Okay. I would do a theme sign that was personalized, that would be Happy Flockin' 40th Amy. So I personalize it. And then I would do 40 flamingos, and I would tie in some birthday signs as well, some fillers, some accent pieces. Now, since we've had this rage in the lawn letters, that's actually started as an add-on for me. It was a $20 add-on, and people didn't want them. Funny how times have changed.
Yeah.
And so then it was, okay, well, that was mainstream. So then I redid my pricing to include the lawn letters. And now it goes back and forth. Most people want them, but they still want my theme. I don't just do, here's happy birthday and, an eclectic look. So they'll get their happy birthday letters. I still personalize a sign. So it could be Happy Sweet 16 Steve. And then I put, whatever color combo that they're wanting. They may be wanting princess. And so I come in, I'm a longtime customer of yours, Steve. And that's part of what I like to do, is get the themed pieces, because people want. Sweet 16 is just one of my most popular themes that I have. And they're not looking for, something else. They want that theme. And that's what makes it special. And it makes you stand out versus the other guy out there.
What are some other, maybe 2 or 3 other popular themed yard decorations?
Sure. Over the hill. My buzzards, and 40 and fabulous, or 50 and fabulous. So those go together. The over the hill with the buzzards is number 2. Sweet 16 is number 1. And then the flamingos for any age is always up there. It's always a classic.
That's great. That's awesome.
And my storks, everybody's considering the pandemic, everybody needs to be prepared for stork season, for baby season.
Yeah. And that is when?
Basically, it's starting now because of all the baby showers.
Right.
And so we're going to see that depending on how long this pandemic goes, we are hitting really big baby season right now with baby showers. And that the babies are going to start being born, let's see, 9 months. So we're going to be looking at babies starting to be born probably in December through, certainly the beginning of 2021.
All right. I love it. So how do you take payments from people?
I used to take cash and I used to take checks. And when I have an 85-year-old grandmother who wants to leave me a check under the door, that's how we did business. And it was basically like your word is your handshake sort of thing. Nowadays, I don't do that unless it's my neighbor kind of thing. And I do everything with online credit cards. And I'll tell you, that's the norm now, but it didn't used to be. If you're taking credit cards over the phone, you now have a liability, because what happens to that credit card information? Your company is liable for it now if somebody gets their identity stolen or if there's any sort of fraud. So I have, since 2000, I've always done it where they have to physically put in their own credit card information, because it is too dangerous nowadays with identity theft. And so I will either send them an invoice, which is how I've done it, because I put in all the details, including here's what you're going to, it's an event confirmation, here's where to pay. And they click on the little link and they can go to Square and they can pay their invoice. What I've also done up is basically online checkout pages where we've already done an event confirmation where I spell out the name, the address, the date, the theme. I spell out everything, including their liability as far as missing and damaged pieces go. And then they can go to that link and they can click on it and they can pay online. And I use Square, I've used Stripe, I've used PayPal. Way back in the day, I used to have to get, approved to use authorize.net. We used to have an old school. Do you remember, Steve, the old school, like credit card processing? I don't even know what they're called, the brick.
Yeah.
So we've come a long way since then. And my one piece of advice for anybody who is taking payments, first of all, don't get caught up in the credit card fees. They're the cost of doing business. That's part of up-leveling your business.
Right.
The other one is look for a credit card processor that will allow a tipping option, because gratuities are it's like wonderful. I can't say it's free money because you work for it, but it's a really nice thing. And I have not gone, I always have at least $2,500 a year in gratuities. Now this year it'll be a lot more, but all because I have it set up when they pay that they can click a little button that says, yes, I want to add a tip.
Wow.
And not all the credit card companies will do it. And it's one of, when I'm always talking about upselling and how to increase your average ticket price, this is one of the things, because would I want to turn around and give that $2,500 back to somebody to go earn it with, that's a lot of money. And so I highly recommend that. Stripe does not do it. Square does it, and PayPal does it.
That's really, that's interesting. I've got to give that more thought as well. Let's move on to resources. When you run a business, you need resources, meaning places to get information. And I know that you're working to advance a place where people can go and collaborate and work together and that type of thing. Tell me a little bit more about the organization that you're starting.
Absolutely. So for years now, I have mentored a lot of people that are just starting their businesses, or it's others that have been around for a long time. And it's, hey, you know what? I don't know how to do ABC. And there's been so many, obviously, in the last few months that I finally decided we've got to have a better way of helping others. And so I created the Yard Card Business Network to do that. And part of what we do, a lot of it is training. And when we talk about resources, some of that is Facebook ads, how to do Facebook ads. That's one of our master classes. We teach how to work on Canva, how to create graphics. That's a simple one. Something like a budget and how to handle your finances. I think that's a really fun, not a fun one, but an important one. We just had a legal masterclass in how to protect yourself. What do you need? You know, what's the difference in an LLC, a DBA, and what do you need? And you know, where's your liability? So we've got some different things like that. Then we have the fun stuff. Let's talk about like email marketing. And so what we're trying to do, we know email marketing is one of the best things you can do to help create the customer relationships, and which in turn helps create more sales. Let's just face it. That's why we're in business, right? So like email marketing, we come through and we break it down into bite-sized pieces. And it's literally from, hey, create an account, step 1. Step 2, click on this button. And we go through and we break it down 1 by 2 by 3 to make it easy for anybody to literally watch a video and follow it step by step while you're doing it as well. So that's just one of the examples of something that the most popular resource we have is learning about marketing. And right now we're on email marketing. And part of that also is graphics. And because we have to have stuff that looks pretty, right? We're all visual or we wouldn't be in this industry. And so that's also part of it, is how to use certain graphics. And, you know, there's a lot of resources like that. But part of what is also so important is having that community. And I know we have 5,001 Facebook groups on Facebook now. We used to have like 4 groups, including Victory, up until a few months ago. And so it's been interesting to see that. But what we do is we get together and we talk about, you know, hey, here's a training, here's a tip, here's what's new, here's what's coming, here's what we need to be focusing on. So we were already talking about Christmas back, you know, a couple of months ago, and we started with Halloween a little bit before that, obviously. And so we try to help people be better organized, and we're starting to hold challenges like Facebook Live. This is one of my new challenges is, okay, you know, we're going to challenge every one of our members to do a Facebook Live next month, just one, because that's one of the things that we look at what people are nervous about the most. We also look at things like, and this is where you're going to help come in, Steve, is they're looking how to build a website or uplevel their own website. And that's when I'm like, hey, guess what? My buddy Steve over here, he's launching something cool, and I think he can help you. So I'm a connector. I'm looking for where people can get those resources to help them uplevel their businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. And so if somebody wants to join, 2 questions I'm sure everybody has. A, where do they go to join? And B, what's it cost?
Sure. Okay. So let's see, I think everybody here is on Facebook. And so we have our wonderful marketing intern, Crystal. She is here watching everything, and she's going to leave a link. She's going to put a link down in the comments, but it's really simple. It's yardcardbusinessnetwork.com. Yardcardbusinessnetwork.com. We will push that out on our Facebook group today. Absolutely. That would be great. So what we do from there is we've got a really simple website because we don't want to get bogged down and where to go for what. But the pricing is simple. We have 3 plans. We have a 3-month, a 6-month, and we, by popular demand, we actually just started offering an annual plan. And the 3-month plan is $59.97 for 3 months. So basically it's $19.99 a month. And then you get a little bit of a price break. If you go up to the 6-month plan, it's $90. And so, you know, that turns out to about $15 a month on average. And so we're trying to keep it really affordable. And shoot, just the social media graphics that we distribute to our members every month. I mean, I've seen places where you've got to pay a lot more money just to get a few social media graphics. And it's not about you not being capable. It's about time savings, because who wants to go reinvent the wheel every single week on, well, we've got this coming up And so anyway, that's the pricing. It's really simple. And what we're actually doing is anybody, Crystal, again, my sweet marketing intern, she is actually working on a surprise freebie for anybody who is on here. And she's creating a You've Been Elfed free printable. If anybody was here for booing season, we did a really cute You've Been Booed printable. And so now, of course, we're turning into the elf season. And so if anybody signs up for literally for the email list, we will then be able to take their information. And once that's ready, she will email it over to them.
Talk to me a little bit about Valentine's Day, because even though we're focused on Christmas and Hanukkah and the holidays, we know Valentine's is a big, big time for, so what should people be thinking about now?
And that's actually where, somebody was just saying they just missed the ball on elfing. I'm like, don't worry about elfing. Go focus on spring. Go focus on Valentine's Day. And I don't even know what day of the week it is, but if we're still in a pandemic, it doesn't matter. I don't know about everywhere else, but around here, not everybody's going to work. And so kind of, it's like Groundhog Day every day. It used to be the weekends were really big. If a holiday was on a weekend, it was really huge, especially Valentine's Day. I think it's similar to all these other specialty holidays like Halloween and elfing, where the best thing you can do is do some small packages and get the biggest bang for your buck and use versatile pieces. For instance, hearts. Hearts are something that we use and you can use in everything. Doing a few key pieces that say Happy Valentine's Day is okay, but the problem is you can use it one time. And so the other 363 days of the year, you're stuck with it sitting on your shelf. So I think it's really key to use pieces and to purchase pieces that you can keep using. And it can be different colors. Look at what you've got in your inventory before purchasing more inventory, and look for what's going to complement it. Because if you only have, like I only have red hearts. So would I want to go and, maybe I would want to do pink hearts. Maybe would I mix that? I've got to look at my color palette to see what I have in my inventory and what I want to add to it. And a part of that is about shopping smart, because I think a lot of people, Steve, you're a tough one. You keep coming up with some really amazing inventory that it's hard to not buy.
I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I need to create this week or next week just a page full of different color hearts.
Yes.
Pink polka dot hearts, solid red heart, solid pink hearts.
Absolutely.
I'll let Rachel figure all that out. But you're right, because people do use the hearts year round. And thinking about it from a business model perspective, a lot of people want something on Valentine's Day. So it's a great opportunity to have a big sales day, one of the biggest sales day of the year. Problem is you run out of inventory.
Exactly. So
instead of offering one big package for $75 to $125, maybe you offer a whole lot of smaller packages at $39.
That's one school of thought. And I ran into that with booing. And booing has not been popular. This year, I'm just going to blame it on the pandemic or credit the pandemic. Things have changed. But what I think is also great is to have some sort of happy medium. You can have your really small basic one, but don't go spend 30 minutes driving to a location for a $40 package. You've got to really do your target marketing within your super local neighborhood. And even better would be take orders for those neighborhoods and say, okay, I'm going to be on such and such street. So if you get some of your neighbors together, we can do a bundle deal. So if you've got 4 neighbors that want to do something for Valentine's Day, then you're going to get a price break versus all the singles.
How much money can you make in a day on a good day, and how many setups is it? And I ask this because I just think that a lot of people wonder that, it's a great day, I'm hitting them, I'm able to do X number in about a 5-hour time period, and I'm charging X amount. So my total for the day is this much.
I'm going to give you an answer you're not going to like. It depends.
How about an example?
And I say that because I like to upsell, and I'm not about the number of orders. I'm about the actual revenue. And, you can go make a few $1,000s in a day, but I don't think that somebody should use that as a measurement of, oh, I only made $500 today, and I feel like a failure because I didn't make $1,000 today. I also think it kind of depends on what inventory you have in stock, because I can tell you, when I didn't have my team helping me, doing 17 orders a day was terrible.
Wow.
It was just, and it wasn't good mentally to do that. And so I think that's where people have to look at their own personal boundaries on what they want to do. It's not all about the number of orders you've got, but you've got to look at what your inventory is, and, work with that before you start just spending a ton of money. And if you don't have inventory, starter sets like what you have are a great place to start, where you've got something that's a basic color. I call it the boy girl types of sets, the primary color and the feminine colors, the pink and purple, and then a bright color. If somebody's on a really tight budget, that's the best place to start. And do versatility, balloons, stars, hearts, happy birthday signs, because happy birthday is so much of the business, and not get focused and bogged down in Valentine's Day and Easter and these one-day events. If you don't have tons of money, don't get caught up in the hype.
So let me ask you this. I know, there are a lot of people that are doing this part-time. Many of them would love to quit their jobs and do it full-time. But I'm guessing you're probably needing to make somewhere between it's different for everybody, I get it. But probably a lot of people, if they're making $4,000 to $6,000 a month, then they could leave a job and pursue this full-time. Can one person do enough to make $4,000 to $6,000 a month, or would you have to use additional helpers, as you call them?
Yes and yes. I really think that your sanity is worth getting a little bit of help, and that's how you can scale it, quite frankly. Because if you're wearing every single hat, even if you're making $1,000 a month, the amount of time you're spending, how much money are you making per hour? Are you making minimum wage? And you've got to look at it that way. But you can absolutely make $4,000 to $6,000 a month doing this. And I'm not saying that to sell anything. I've looked at this. I know a lot of people in this industry, and a number of us have been around for a really long time and are longtime friends. And, I know people that have made 6 figures in a month.
Yeah. So
could they do that by themselves? Absolutely not. When you're doing 75 orders a night, including pickups, you can't physically do that. And, the amount of inventory that takes. But that doesn't mean that that's the norm. That's definitely the exception.
Yeah. So, a model, I always think about business models in my head. So if you could do 100 setups a month and average $100 per setup, that's a gross of $10,000.
Right.
And let's say that you have, let's say you put, of that $10,000, you put $500 into marketing. So you're doing $125 a week, and let's just say boosted Facebook ads.
Right.
Okay. So 500, now you've got 9,500. And let's say on 60 of those, you pay someone to do the setup for you. How much would you pay someone to do those setups?
Sure, absolutely. I've done it a couple of different ways. And if you're doing what I call onesie orders, where it's a single order, somebody's going to go out and they're doing one order, I will pay per job. And that has ranged anywhere from $10 to $20, depending on the location, and if they're also doing the pickup. However, I think a lot of people nowadays are doing multiple orders at once.
Yeah.
And really the simplest way to do that is, I will pay about $10 an hour. And what I know, and that's an average, is they're going to probably be out around 5. And so it'll be about a $50 workday for them. And you can gauge it, the delivery route. And, it's one of those things. Are they going to be doing more than that? When my people come in, my team, they are also processing and pulling the inventory. They're looking at the booking sheets. They're questioning it. They're going through all that. They're not just picking up the signs and going. Now, some people, I know that's what they do. Other people have just pickup people. And I wouldn't go pay $20 an order if it's just a pickup person.
So here's the math I'm going to do then, listening to what you just said. So I get to a point where I can gross 10,000 a month, 100 orders, average $100, $10,000. I'm going to, on 60 of those, I'm going to pay somebody else, and I'm going to average $15. So that's $900. Okay. So $10,000 minus 500 for advertising, minus 900 for paid setups. So that leaves me 8,600. Let's say I'm spending $1,000 a month on replacing or adding new inventory. So $1,000, so that leaves $7,600. And now I've got some taxes and I've got some website fees. So I'm just going to assign another 600 to that. So, that would get to $7,000 a month with, being your own boss.
You should be able to have a profit margin, exactly, of around 66% in this industry.
6%.
Something, and that's an average. It's all going to depend. But
yeah. So
you can have higher, and that's the thing is the more people you have on, people are like, I don't want to pay somebody to help. I can just tell you, you will go nuts. And how much time do you have? And what are you sacrificing if you're literally working 18 hours a day? And let's say you're making $5,000 a month, and that's good money. But if you could spend, let's say, $1,000 a month and getting somebody else to take half of that off your plate, and you can focus on building your business, you're going to just keep scaling over and over and over. You're not going to find successful businesses most of the time who it's just them. Literally nobody else helping them.
Yeah, my sister, who has a yard decoration business in Wisconsin, she uses a network of retired friends. Yeah. And, they'll go out and set a few. They get up early anyway.
Exactly. Exactly.
Go set these up. And the other thing is, I literally don't think I have had a boss, like a daily boss, since I was a stock boy at A&W Root Beer.
Oh my God.
And and the value that I place on being my own boss, setting my own schedule, is worth so much to me. When I had the luxury of being a high school debate coach, base little league president, all of these things because I could set my own schedule. Absolutely. And so for family, it matters. For balance, it matters. But it really takes a lot of focus and work and organization. And also what I call, and I know, Chris-Ann, you've listened to one or two of the podcasts where I talk about building businesses, but the concept, there's two concepts to think about. One is build up, build under, which means you build something and then you hire those people to go set them up. That's the build under piece. You do it yourself first, and then you hire somebody to do it. So that's build up, build under. And then the second piece is the concept of capturing downtime. So every day, all of us have 1 to 2 to 3 hours of downtime. They might come in small spurts of 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But if you can pull up your phone and do a Facebook post in that 10 minutes. Exactly. Capture it, and you put a brick. And that brick is a piece that's going to be there forever now. That Facebook post never goes away. And then 2 hours later, you do another post. That's another brick. And you keep building on those, and you capture downtime to put bricks in the foundation of the business that you're building. So those are the two things that I think about. We need to probably wrap up here. But what have we missed here, Chris-Ann?
Well, let's see. I'm going to look at my notes then. Okay. I had a couple of people ask me if I was going to share any, I'll say, interesting stories in all the 21 years I've been doing this. And there's so many that I was trying to come up with something, but there's one that I think, or two, I actually think everybody can relate to, is just a few nights ago, I was doing an evening one and I finished up. It was 10:15 p.m. and I got back in the car and guess what? Well, you can't really click a key anymore, but you push a button and the car wouldn't start.
Oh my God.
I'm like, okay. So in my 52 years, I have always had somebody come help me. I've always, it's just what you do, right? I'm 52 years old. I've done this for 21 years. And after 3 hours of trying to troubleshoot, because, I can figure it out. And my little battery box that I always recommend, everybody has all these emergency supplies in their car, right? Mine didn't work. It didn't work. I don't think it was the battery, but long story short, 3 hours later at 1 o'clock in the morning on this, luckily I was in a nice neighborhood. I felt safe. I got to Uber home from a yard. And I'm like, well, that's a first. So, we always have these situations. And the one tip I will also on those lines is always keep your keys in your pocket. I don't care. I have been locked out of my car, and I've had some of my team have the same thing happen. You think you have them on you, or you don't think the door is locked. The next thing you know, you're locked out of your car, and then there you are in the middle, of a street, and don't block anybody's driveways.
Or you can buy a Tesla and your phone is your key.
Well, what if you have your phone in your car?
Never. Always on me.
Well, okay, so that's actually another safety piece that I have, and I shouldn't always have my phone on me, but when I am doing a yard, 100% of the time, I will have my phone on me, even if it's not comfortable. It's kind of in the way and clunky, because you never know when you're going to need this. And there's been situations, and I'm not trying to scare anybody away, but there's been weapons pulled on people in the industry. And I tell you what, you can't always, and, thank goodness nothing terrible's ever happened along those lines, where something really bad's happened. But heaven forbid, you then needed to get to your car to get assistance for anybody. And it's not just about that. If somebody gets hurt.
Right.
There's just
to take a photo of your work. There's so much value.
So, and that's another tip is, it's really cute and we want to see our photos, and we can have a whole other conversation about photo taking. And I know a lot of people do this at night, and so it's hard to do. Well, these new phones, I tell you what, my husband, I got a new fancy phone. It does great night photos even.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, even if it's not good photos, you need evidence that your work was there.
Yeah.
It's really important. And I don't know that the new people do this, but we always count the number of pieces. And then we will do photos or a video to show the quantity of pieces that there are. Because then if something happens, we're like, well, you know what? Here's what, it's not a he said, she said situation. And speaking of, when that happens, we can all, I tell my clients they're responsible for any missing or damaged pieces. And it's in my business agreement that they have. Every single person agrees to this when they sign up, right before they pay. However, that's not always really going to happen. If one sign goes missing, right, am I going to go and screw up all the goodwill and the happy experience because of a $10 sign?
Right.
So that's when, you've got to look at that. Have I had full yards taken? Yes, I have.
Wow. Really?
Yes, I've had that happen 3 times. Wow. And, it's, and one of them was in the trash because they just said they don't like it. Actually, I guess it's been 4 times. 2 of them have been in the trash. And one of them, the guy didn't like it. Actually, most of the times somebody doesn't like it. Another time they just wanted to get it out of the way. And another time it was stolen.
Have you ever thought about offering insurance?
Yes. Now, back in the old flamingo flocking fundraising days, there was some sort of insurance, which I know that's not the same, but where, you're like, what, if something happens, you're safe. And, at the end of the day, I don't think we really just need it. It's not that often. If it's very prevalent that you have things, then I just think it's time to change things up a little bit. If you're getting stuff stolen all the time, it's time to change things up a little bit and maybe not go to those neighborhoods anymore. And I will just say, it's not necessarily the lower income neighborhoods. The more affluent neighborhoods can have more theft than anybody else. And that's actually been my experience.
I have to think it has to do with kids roaming around a neighborhood and grabbing
Absolutely.
things.
And they're bored.
So,
They're bored. They're bored. Absolutely.
Chris-Ann, what a great hour. What so many takeaways. Anybody who wants to know how to scale their business, how to make it as an independent standalone business, this is the hour to listen to it. And one more time, the website to go to for the organization.
Absolutely. It's www.yardcardbusinessnetwork.com. And if you go over
businessnetwork.com. Yeah. And we're thankful to be a sponsor of the site.
You absolutely are. You are one of our proud advertising partners, and I really appreciate your support. And for anybody that's here listening, we actually have two things. If you go onto that page, on the homepage, if you want to take our marketing lingo quiz, you can test out and see where your marketing savvy is, and you might learn a term or two. And also, there is a button to click if you would like to get our free ELF printable. We're going to be sending that out to anybody who signs up for that as well.
All right. That's perfect. I appreciate your time today, Chris-Ann.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. And I'm looking forward to really getting to help a lot more people. We've got so many people that, really want to uplevel their business. And I'm so impressed with how serious these business owners are. And they're just such great entrepreneurs looking for help. So between you and so many other great industry leaders, that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to help and guide. So we thank you also for doing that.
Our goal was to create an alternative for those who didn't want to pay a percentage of their monthly income in franchise fees. And franchise is a great model, but for those that don't want to do that, we are trying to provide all of the same assets. And with your organization, that sort of rounds it out. So perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's what we're here to do, and that's why we like to have good resources to help everybody. So thank you so much for having me on. And I really appreciate your time, and everybody that's been on listening. Definitely tag us. Let us know any of your questions, and we're happy to help.
Wonderful. I'm Steve Grubbs with victorystore.com. And thank you for joining us today, listening to the wisdom and the wit. Chris-Ann Dale.
Thank you all so much. Have a great day.